My bras. I know you all miss my rant videos, so I have one today. And gaming in your early, mid to late 20s. Early 20s, it's fun. It's amazing. Some of you all may either be in college and or fresh out of high school. You're just trying to relax and chill out. Maybe figure out what you want to do with your life. Life is there for most people, but it hasn't hit anyone, if that makes sense. You haven't seen the wall yet. And then in your mid-20s, things start to pick up. Some of you might have children on the way. Some of you might be starting your new official job. Or you're starting to feel the stress of needing to get a serious job. And to me, I feel like the mid-20s is really where like gaming kind of like shifts. And then in your late 20s, it's kind of just there, if that makes sense. So when you play certain video games, you start to think about time. You don't have as much energy. Well, you do have as much energy, but mental energy is slowly being drained. You have a lot of outside stresses. You go through the guilt trip phase or you start the guilt trip phase to where you feel like you're wasting your time. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of times that's true. And I'm going to explain why. This is coming from someone that I've played so many indie game titles. It's getting to the point to where a lot of you have been asking me like what games I play in my background. I actually plan on posting some more indie game titles starting this quarter. That's how you know I'm old now. I'm saying like quarters and shit. That's how I define the year, because you guys want to make sure that you set your quarterly goals and you hit those goals. Jesus. But yeah, I play indie game titles now because I feel like those game titles are the only titles that really respect my time, that aren't trying to squeeze me out of every single cent that I might or might not have during that time. Because in your 20s, like your money just can't be spent on skins anymore. You know, you're not like a high schooler, bro. Like you guys remember you used to save up your check maybe for like an iPhone or maybe for like the next Call of Duty. That dies, man. That dies in your 20s, bro. It really does. It's like you buy that skin or you starve. It's hard out here. It's bad. So indie game titles are like the only titles that feel like they care about my time and they're not trying to bankrupt me. I can still have fun on it. Usually the price of the video game itself is great. The art style is always unique. No indie game dev title looks alike. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that like AAA feel to it. It has like a unique personal touch. I can't explain it, but I know a lot of you all know what I'm talking about. So I feel like in your mid 20s to late 20s, you slowly start to kind of go down that route of just playing indie game titles. And it's also interesting because you look at games like Destiny, you look at games like Call of Duty, really any multiplayer game, I want to say, besides like titles that are going to be supported for years on end and years on end, right? But you start to care about all of the progress that you previously made. Like, I don't want my rank to be reset each year anymore. I want to continue on that same character. I want that character to actually develop with me throughout my life. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's because I don't want my time just instantly wiped anymore. And I think the reason because of this is that in the back of your head, you know that you're not this perfect person and you probably sacrificed some things that you shouldn't have in order to progress this character, in order to play this video game title, to get those high achievements. And now, since you're aware of time in your like mid to late 20s, it's very frustrating to pay $60 to do it all over again. And not only that, well, $60 is now becoming like rare. Well, we're gonna play like what, 70 80 90 by the time you guys watch this video. Really what I'm saying is you're paying a premium price to put all of your important things on the back burner again, or have the chance to, so you can progress this character, progress your career stats in that certain video game title, and then for it to all be reset and the cycle continues. So game titles like Destiny, game titles like Call of Duty, the list goes on. Those are just some of the major AAA kingpins I could think of. I feel like they really do suffer with this. You know, Destiny has a sunsetting problem to where gear that you grinded God knows how many hours for can instantly become useless. And then you look at your bank account, you're like, oh, this isn't looking so good. The economy that we currently live in can't support me spending hours upon hours on Destiny anymore. And that's something that I pretty much enjoy. Like, yo, I want to start getting some money so I can maybe get me a nice little place and really kind of create my own personal headquarters and then figure things out from there. And that that's like, it's such a weird, like, because life hits you, and video games are a very new thing when it comes to daily life of the average male and or female. We're not evolved to play video games every single hour, right? Even like you watching this video, you listening to it on YouTube, this wasn't a thing 100 years ago, right? Our brains can't handle this much dopamine. And I say that because in your mid to late 20s, it takes a huge toll on your progress in life. And I mean a huge toll, fellas. So it takes a negative effect on your life, and then all of your progress is gone. Most of you are probably antisocial, and all of the achievements, rewards that you've made up in your head that you're going to show your friends that don't exist become useless. Like, let's be honest, man. All of it becomes useless. AAA studios, they don't even release good titles anymore. So as a guy that's like, what, 22, 23, you grinding Destiny, you grinding any type of game that won't even be supported in 1 to 2 years is a very long time. You can get an associate's degree within that time. You can learn a new trade, a new skill within that time, probably even shorter. So you get guilt tripped a lot. And I wouldn't even say guilt trip. It's just like in your mid 20s, that wall, you run into it and you start climbing it. You start becoming just a little bit more sensitive to what's going on around you in the world. You start getting stressed out a lot. And I'm positive this is all normal because every generation goes through this. You know, social media doesn't help, but a lot of the titles that you fell in love with, they start to fade. I feel like, or at least for me, right? Maybe some of you are starting to like get a sense of this. I try to get back into the old video game titles that I used to play, which just wasn't Call of Duty. And I haven't touched Destiny in like damn near 3 to 4 years. But you know, even games that fix the problem like Warframe, it's almost like maybe I'm paranoid that although Warframe, you can technically carry on forever, there's still always that sense of them just turning off the switch and never supporting the game again. Thus, all I have is these digital relics. And since it's an online game, unless they create maybe like an app to where you can review your or view your old like Warframe character, something like that, something like Vault, a digital vault, you know, that's kind of kept me from playing that game. And I feel like since it's such a weird place of you trying to get to your career or get that nice place and think about raising a family, comparing yourself maybe to your parents and where they were at your age, which I don't even think is fair because it was a different time, a different economy. I feel like video games have become dependent, maybe as they should be. Like, I can't say if this is a right or a good or bad thing, I should say. But video games have become really dependent on how your actual life is going. I don't think there's much escapism in video games in your mid to late 20s as it was to when you were a teenager or early 20s or maybe just starting college, because I know it feels so much better for me to hit my goals in life and then hop on the video game because like my mind is clear. I can like really appreciate things. I get a little bit better dopamine knowing that I can afford this skin versus when I'm like, you know, just stressed out, depressed, or whatever the case may be. And some of y'all might have the opposite effect, which is interesting, right? You might have a shitty life and feel good when you hop on the video game, but I would argue that type of crowd is becoming less and less because of the economy we live in, man. It's so hard to ignore what's going on in the real world. So let's say, for instance, you're employed, you have a very hard job, but you have a little bit of savings in the bank. Therefore, I feel like you will have a great gaming session. Now, if it's the opposite, you have no job, you have no money in the bank, your gaming session is probably going to be dog shit. You're going to be stressing out. You're going to probably have to listen to some YouTubers in the background to get out all the fog, and it's like you force yourself to play. You know, I can't, dude, you guys know what I'm talking about, and this is why I love these rants. Because there's going to be someone in the comments, and I'm like, dude, I know what you're talking about. Sometimes you have to force yourself to play, like you want to play, but you're forcing yourself to play it. And maybe it's because you're avoiding that thing that you should be doing, which is probably getting a job, right? Or probably completing some school assignments. Maybe if you're a graduate, probably fixing that situation, right? And I almost kind of feel bad because if I need escapism just for a moment, shouldn't I be able to have it? Isn't that like kind of my right to have some escapism, even just for a teeny smidge? Maybe I just want to play that video game for an hour, but when life in your 20s, bro, life fucks you up. Then your mid-20s, like onwards, you know, or wherever, whenever it hits you, usually it's around that age range. You don't even get that escapism anymore, man. Now we can argue it's because, you know, titles aren't the same anymore, but I think half of it is just the world changes and you mature and you start to realize, like, I don't want to be spending hours of my life anymore on something that's going to be deleted, something that's going to be removed. Yeah, that they're great memories to have. Like, it's cool to have this memory and say maybe, and dude, you know, so crazy. Some of you guys might think it's like bragging rights, but bro, like once you get older, who's going to care that you defeated this boss on this level, or that you were the top or #1 ranking zombies leaderboard player in Call of Duty Black Ops 2? Do we even know any of the top people back in Zombies Black Ops 2 leaderboards? No, we don't. And if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, Black Ops 2, like, they had a official Zombies leaderboards, and they used to have everyone's rank on there. I was actually like top 10K. That's why I'm bringing that up. You guys should fucking know. Now you guys know I was top like 10K, which is a huge flex. But I was in like middle school, so I had plenty of time to just do nothing but play that game. And I think I hovered around like 8 to 9K. But I digress. It's like you kind of justify it by saying, yo, I'm going to be able to bring this up in the conversation one day, or I'm going to be able to show this to my friends and blah, blah, blah. But then the conversation never comes up. And who knows, maybe when you're like 40, you might not even give a shit about all those achievements. So you're thinking you're making good memories, but maybe in your 40s, you're going to be pissed that you, you know, wasted all that time. So video games in general, and maybe this is how it should be. Like, I don't know where my morals stand with this. Maybe this is how it should be. It's dependent on how your actual life is going. The only memories that start to matter are the ones that are made in the actual real world. Taking a picture of you going to a different country or you during a moment slowly starts to make its way into your mind, and you come to the realization that that's actually a lot more important. Yeah, you went to that place. You physically, like, your body was there. This wasn't a virtual fucking world that can be cut off or shut off in a second. You were there. You felt it. You smelt the air. You maybe even touched the ground. You experienced that moment and you took a photo. Okay. That piece of memory just becomes more valuable than whatever achievement that you hit in that video game. And some of you have probably made it this far and thinking to yourself, like, yo, this guy's a loser. No, you'll be surprised how many people will say, damn, I kind of get that. Gen Z, which I am a part of, we're just so introverted that what I've described makes sense to some people, right? So like your video game taste just really changes. You stop playing video games to where you know it's not going to get supported for years upon end. The minimum for me at least is like 2 to 3 years. I like just don't want my time wasted. If I am going to look back at this relic of time, I at least want to be a little bit proud. You know what I mean? And at least have some type of virtual positive memory. But then I also want to progress my outside life so I can actually enjoy that relic. Like it's so dependent on what's going on in the real world to how you might view that video game achievement, whatever it might be. It's so weird and it's so hard to describe. You guys will know a game I've been getting back into, Pokemon Go. I really have. Why? Because it sort of itches both of those things. And I probably explained this in a previous video. I don't remember. I post so much. But it's the only game to where I can go out in the real world, enjoy some time. Like they got like this thing called an auto catcher, which is something made by Nintendo. And you can turn it on and you can catch like Pokemon in the background. And I think that's very, very cool. So like, you know, I can enjoy and live in that moment while also playing the game, if that makes sense. You know, I'm kind of like scratching both itches. Like I got the escapism there if I need it. And in order for you to play Pokemon Go, you have to walk around. So I'm getting that exercise in, you know, I'm at least socializing a little bit. Usually I like play a podcast or listen to some music. And I try to get at least 10K steps, 10,000 to 12,000 steps in on the days I'm not working or the days I'm not hitting the gym. So for instance, today's Wednesday and I go to work Wednesday, but I don't hit the gym. Like I'm not weightlifting, excuse me, I should say. So I'm going to try to get 12,000 steps in and I'm going to play Pokemon Pokemon Go while I do it. So I like scratch that itch. I'm actually progressing. I'm improving my health because like my body, man, your body changes in your mid-20s, which is a whole nother video itself, but you don't become as invincible as you were in your early 20s, if that makes sense, right? But granted, I still feel extremely energized, and you technically still are invincible if you're in your 20s. I can't explain it, but there's like a slight sensitivity. It's not a decrease in energy, but just a sensitivity to other things, if that makes sense. So, you know, I want to, and that game has been around, bro. This game is so cool. It's the only game that I have in general to where they constantly updated, although they have some bad practices. Remember I mentioned that, you know, the money grab thing. Yeah. Granted, but you can still play this game for free if you're patient and you do your like gym battles and stuff like that and you take over gyms. But regardless, I caught a Magikarp back when I was in high school. I think it was. Yeah, back when I was in high school. Back when I was, I think, 10th grade, 9th grade maybe? No, it was like 10th or 11th. Yeah, 10 or 11th. And I still have the same Magikarp, and I have it evolved to Gyarados, and you can Mega Evolve the Gyarados, which is pretty cool. That's a memory. Now that's a positive memory because the game is still being supported. I don't feel like my time was wasted. Technically, it's never wasted in this video game, and it forces me to get outside. Well, not forces me. I always go outside anyway, but I can also like just, you know, scratch both itches at the same time. I can exercise, get that dopamine in, and sometimes you're even forced to fucking socialize, right? Because you might want to take down that raid boss and, you know, you play around with the Pokemon Go community, right? That's around you if you have one. So it's almost like I fiend for games that can have that continuous progress and constant support. I don't think Pokemon is going anywhere anytime soon, right? I don't collect the cards and I don't watch the TV shows. So I know that's weird to even say because why are you playing Pokemon Go and you don't do neither one of those things? You would be surprised. A lot of people actually don't watch the Pokemon franchise or whatever, but they still play this game. There's like a lot of older people that play Pokemon Go. And if you guys want to add me, I'll probably put it in the pinned comment. Like way at the bottom, so that way I know if you made it this far, like you've actually added me. And if you do decide to add me, let me know so I can, like, you know, edit your little nameplate and keep you on my friends list. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and I feel like a lot of people are also there. And to recap a recap of a recap, you start to realize that life matters. You stop spending so much time on video game titles that you know are not going to be supported next year. Prime example, Call of Duty. If you play Black Ops 6, you know Black Ops 7 is coming out next year. So what's the point of playing Black Ops 6? When you guys do see Black Ops 7 gameplay, which I will start posting, it's mainly because I play a lot of zombies, and zombies kind of has or scratches that itch for me. It's not as taxing mentally on me as multiplayer. I will have some multiplayer gameplay up as well. And I've always been really, really good at multiplayer. Man, my KD, I kid you fucking not. This might be a flex. This might be a flexi flex moment. Was a 3.42 in Black Ops 2. Wow. How's that helped my career? I was a fucking beast, fellas. I kid you not. I had more orbital VSAT score streak uses than UAVs. You guys know how you used to be able to tell which score streak you use the most? I use orbital VSAT. Like, I will always get orbital VSAT minimum each game. Those are good old days. But yeah, I just, you know, with skill-based matchmaking and stuff like that, a lot of those games have just become less fun. Like, way less fun. I want to say like 60% drop off. But I do like zombies and I'm excited for that. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed this rant. Definitely hit that like button and subscribe if you all are new. Might be a minute before I make another one of these. Might be sooner if this performs extremely well. Peace.